If you've ever had to buy material up front and wait to get paid on the back end, you know that it can really limit the jobs that you can take on. 70% of tradespeople feel that upfront material costs have a major or moderate impact on cash flow. That's according to a poll that we ran to learn more about what we can do to help you make more money. I'm Jeanette with TradeHounds, and here today with Courtney and Tom, who work with Credit Key. TradeHounds recently announced a new partnership with Credit Key to help solve this problem so you can stress less and earn more. For the tradespeople watching this, talk to me about cash flow problems that you see when it comes to buying materials for a job.
Yeah, thank you, Jeanette. Appreciate the opportunity. And we appreciate the partnership with Trade Hounds. And the most cash flow problems occur that we see from a financial support is when a contractor doesn't receive materials or labor deposits to start the job. And if they do, it usually is not enough to support the materials needed. In that situation, they usually will put the rest on a credit card. And then if they have multiple jobs, they might be taxing out their credit card or hit their limit on a credit limit on the credit card. And that's where we come into play.
In another poll we ran, 90% said it would be helpful to pay for materials after they get paid for the job. Why does paying for materials after you get paid matter so much for tradespeople?
Yeah, so it matters because it solves that timing gap. So if you can buy materials today and pay later, maybe after you get paid for the job, you're not putting your business under constant financial pressure just to keep that project moving. So day to day, it can change a lot. You're one, freeing up cash so that you can take on more jobs at once. You might not have to drain personal cash just to cover upfront costs. You're not relying on credit cards to buy more materials and supplies and putting strain on that. And you can keep your projects moving instead of just waiting on that cash to come in. So at the end of the day, it lets tradespeople run their businesses based on what the work that they're actually doing, and not based on what their bank account might look like that week.
So, how long does it take to apply for a credit key, and what kind of information do you need from someone to decide if they're eligible for this?
And what I love about Credit Key is we need basic information and everything will be instant. So, how Credit Key stands out against the other business financial institute is our underwriting is instant. Within 30 seconds to 3 minutes, your customers can get approved for a line of credit and then pay for their product from a distributor or online instantly as soon as they get approved. All they're going to really need is an EIN number, personal information, and a social security number, and a company needs to be within the US.
Explain what it means when you say that like their credit won't be pulled. What does that mean?
So what we do at Credit Key is we do everything underwriting in-house and we do a soft credit pull. All right. So a soft credit pull does not impact their personal credit or their business credit. There's no banking statements or tax returns needed. It is minimal information. As I mentioned, they just need to qualify with an EIN number and a specific revenue, and then they get approved for a line of credit.
And if somebody's not approved, like what are some of the reasons why? And then can they do anything to become eligible later?
They can, a lot of times it's a might be a misunderstanding on the application to where we have access to a web chat, phone number, email if they have any questions on why they got declined. Um, and most importantly, when they do get declined, it's usually past bad credit maybe or revenue. Their revenue isn't at $40,000, which is a minimal minimum for us. And then to be honest with you, they just need to work on improving their credit scores. Maybe trade credits aren't up to par, and we could rerun the application at any time for them.
And does that mean that the person applying has to like own the business, like the
The person,
contractor or tradesperson?
yeah, great question. So, how it works with Credit Key is we want somebody that is an officer of the company or the owner of the company that is willing to put down a social security number. One of the main qualifications is a FICO score of 600. We want to make sure that person is an officer or owner of the company and that somebody from let's say a warehouse or in the field, has the company's EIN number, they can't just go and apply and get approved for a line of credit and the owner knows nothing about it. So we definitely would like an owner and or officer of the company to be applying.
That makes sense. Could you tell me a little bit more about the difference between the mobile app? I know there's a virtual card and also like a physical card.
So the Credit Key app has kind of everything. So you can apply for Credit Key directly in our app, manage your whole account, activate and leverage your Credit Key card, which I'll go into in a sec, and purchase from hundreds of different vendors that we have on the app that are designated with different categories and filters just to figure out what you might be looking for. So the Credit Key card works just like any other card. You draw from your existing line of credit, so the same flexible payment terms that you're already enjoying. And there are no extra fees. Like Tom mentioned, no hard credit check, just more flexibility for your business's purchasing needs, whatever that might be. So for Hounds, they can apply specifically for Credit Key through the Trade Hounds app. We're seen on the tool belt, on our profile page. Most of our posts have little links to it, or on the Credit Key app directly. There, you can activate your card and have the option to request a physical card. If you'd rather have that, it'll be mailed directly toward you. Or you can use the virtual card, which is just right in your Apple Wallet. Then feel free, you can purchase online or go to any supply house that MasterCard is accepted to use it, buy any materials, supplies you might need for that job.
Can you explain what it means when you say net 30, 0% for 30 days?
Absolutely. That one is basically your customers will not have any interest rates for the first 30 days. So as long as they pay within 30 days, there's no interest rate. After that, if they need 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, there'll be an interest rate that's based on their credit worthiness.
After 30 days, like what choices does somebody have if the job runs longer than they expected or if the customer is slow to pay? Like, could you give me more information about that?
Yeah, so when they qualify and get approved, the greatest thing about Credit Key is the fact that we have flexible payment options. So if somebody's looking at 0% for net 30 days, but let's say the job is bigger or they have a bigger order that they need to purchase up front, they can choose in complete flexibility 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months. They don't have to do just net 30 terms. They choose their terms. We don't tell them what their terms are. So if it's a smaller order, they might need net 30 or they can use 3 months. If it's a larger order, they can choose 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months. It's entirely up to the customer.
What is like the fee that you would pay for that after like the 30 days? How does
Yeah,
that?
so every business is going to have a different credit worthiness. So when they apply, we go out to Dun& Bradstreet, Equifax within 30 seconds to 3 minutes. It comes back with, "Hey, you've been approved for $40,000. Your interest rate is 1% after the initial first month. The first month is at 0%." Now that interest rate per month changes based on the company's credit worthiness. Maybe you have a few dents from COVID that you kind of struggled on a few payments. It's not a problem. We can underwrite those customers, but their interest rates might be 2 or 3% instead of 1% a month, right?
And what if the contractor is able to pay early? Like how would that affect what they owe?
Yeah, great question. So the beautiful thing about Credit Key is the fact that we do not charge for paying off your terms early. If you chose a 12-month term, but you want to pay it off in 3 months, you're only going to pay 3 months interest. You're not going to pay the full 12-month interest.
And what would you recommend as like the smartest payoff strategy?
That question is tricky because it all depends on they need to know their budget. What is their cash flow? What can they afford on a monthly payment? Maybe they did get a big down payment for the project. They could pay it off in 0% 30 days or 3 months. But if they didn't, they might need to draw it out to 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months, right? So it all really depends on the company's budget, their monthly budget, what they can afford, and their open cash flow. So to really say what's the smartest for me to tell them, I don't really feel that I can answer that just due to the fact that they need to know their budget before they go into the project, right?
What would you say to a skeptical contractor who hears buy now, pay later, and assumes there's a catch?
So the most important thing I feel with somebody that isn't familiar with the buy now pay later platform might be been in the industry for a really long time. They've been with their company for a really long time, either the owner or an officer of the company, and everything's moving just fine. Um, my number one question I would ask them is explain the business to me and then let them know I understand your hesitation with the buy now, pay later. Completely understand that. What I would want them to understand is the fact that how we can fit into their daily process in payments by freeing up cash flow. And they understand that they're, they could use this at will. It's more of a sales tool for them to use. It's nothing burden on their company.
And could either of you share some examples of some tradespeople that you've been able to help with Credit Key?
Absolutely. So, I've sold a lot. I've been here about 4.5 years and have hundreds of calls and meetings with electricians, contractors, builders, landscapers, plumbers, construction companies who have all had success with Credit Key due to the fact of the simplicity of using Credit Key. And as soon as they get approved for a line of credit, they don't have to get approved again. They could keep coming back and using that line of credit over and over again, just like a credit card.
Is there anything that you would like to share that you think our viewers should know?
Yeah, the qualifications, I would say, is pretty important for customers to know on what they're looking at when they do go to apply and what they're going to need. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit here and there, right? I think that might be something that of interest. So when they think of credit key and business financing, we're underwriting the business based on the EIN number. All they really need is an annual revenue of $40,000, no open bankruptcies, social security number with a FICO score of 600 plus, in an operating US business, and they can qualify for a line of credit with Credit Key. It's that simple.
And the application takes less than 3 minutes to complete. So it's
Correct.
basically an instant credit decision. Again, doesn't impact your credit score. So very simple process once you just download the app or go through the application process.
Well, I can't thank you both enough, and it's been such a pleasure to partner with Credit Key. One of our biggest missions at Trade Hounds is to make sure that tradespeople across the country are able to make money, and I think this is such a huge issue for tradespeople who can't take on additional jobs because they're stuck then with all that cash flow problem. So this really opens people up to increase their business, grow. And I just can't thank you enough for sharing this opportunity with all of our users.
Yeah, thank you again. We greatly appreciate the opportunity and the partnership with Trade Hounds.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeanette.